Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Thank you. Now enjoy the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of RAERAEs Review. Now, I'm about to talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Reunion Season 14. These ladies gave a great reunion as far as I'm concerned. A lot was said, a lot was revealed. Not everything was resolved because, as we know, Garcelle quit the show. And according to the part 3 of this whole reunion, Garcelle said she was fed up and called the ladies all kind of names and carrying on. Of course, not in their face. But, we'll get to it. Like I said, this will be the entire reunion, all 3 parts. So get your popcorn, get your red vines, get your peanut M&Ms, you get you something to drink. I don't know, you want a root beer, Coke Zero, whatever, but sit back and relax, okay? Because so pretty much now, again, all the ladies look great, of course. All the ladies are great. As you can see, their outfits. We're not going to go into each of their outfits. They all look great, as you can see right there. It was like a gold or earth tone situation. At least Garcelle, Dorit, and Kyle weren't yelling at each other the whole time, like there was the first 7 episodes, child. I mean, I know we got sick of that. I'm like, when is they gonna stop yelling at each other? God. But Dorit's pissed off. Dorit was mad. And that's where we started off with part 1, right? So Dorit's divorce. They talking about she's smoking on camera now. It was looking like, and then Kyle pretty much said she was kind of pretty much Kyle insinuated that Dorit smoking would never be seen because that's just not something she wanted, out there. But girl, listen, Kyle. You're the last one we talking about something not being seen and out there. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, so then I got to the divorce more so, talking about the children. She still feels like she doesn't want to tell the children right now. But, I mean, listen. The son that already came and said, Mom, I found something online about you and Daddy getting divorced. That was... I ain't trying to tell nobody how to parent, but sometimes things fall in our lap to where we need to address them, Dorit, and that was the perfect opportune time to set them kids down and say, well, unfortunately it is. I wanted to wait until things were a little more settled with your dad and I, but yes, we are. And then I would have immediately called PK. I would have told them to hold that thought. Called PK and said, listen, Jagger he found some on the internet. I said, well, I kind of had to break it to him that we are, going through the motions. How do you want to handle this? Do you want to be involved in the conversation? But, they upset, they mad, but then again, just like Kyle, don't want to let go. We saw how Dorit was when she came to the ladies with Erika and Bozoma and was like, well, this time we spoke, hadn't spoken in a while, and he was a lot more sweeter, he was a lot more calmer, a lot more nicer, and it made me think. And they was like, you think about what, girl? They both got in her behind about, no. This is the calm before the storm. First, he give you this, no, first he, he leave. Second, he telling you this doggone situation. Third, to give you an email. Now he want to be all lovey-dovey, take you out and whatnot. Nah, Don't let your guard down, boo-boo. File, do what you gotta do. But yeah, it's hard though. It's hard. I empathize with them because it is a loss. And you always hear about divorces feeling like funerals. Child. Sometimes you got to break some stuff. Sometimes you got to cuss somebody out. You may have to, be a little unconventional to get through it. I mean, everybody ain't cool, calm, and collected 24/7, especially when you got a little cheering. No, that was a perfect opportune time, Dorit. But she said it's hard to get over PK. He's the love of her life. And the way he told it on different scenes that production put up, that, he was, head over heels for her too. But like he said, he had to stop drinking to see the light with her because overall it just wasn't working out. He didn't think he would be in a relationship with someone who ended up the way that she did after they got married, with all her different ways of doing things and feelings about this, that, and the third. Hey, some people just, they realize, everybody, how can I say this? When people get together, get married or what have you, sometimes it takes, a while for certain situations to invoke certain reactions in people that you didn't get before. And if you don't like what you see, if something turns you all the way off, well, how are you gonna know that if the situation didn't prompt them to be that way in the beginning? So it's nobody's fault. You try, you let them know, like he told her after the robbery. Now it's becoming just, a bit obnoxious rather than feeling hurt and pain and whatnot. And she looked at him like, what? Again, sometimes people turn people off. It is what it is. Like, for instance, if you get into a financial situation later on and one spouse handles it in a way that the other spouse wouldn't, and it's, it could be and it, is deemed a deal breaker. Well, those situations didn't arise until later on in the marriage. So how was one supposed to know? Are you going to talk about every possible situation prior to marriage or at the beginning of marriage? So if this happens, then we're going to do? No, you deal with it at the time. And you dealing with grown folks. So grown folks are, set in their ways for the most part. And if they're, 10 toes down in how they feel about it, then, it is what it is. Maybe, separation, divorce is the answer. It is what it is. I mean, we don't know everything that went on with their relationship, but it just sounded like PK had up to here with Dorit, and Dorit was kind of blindsided by that because, she's been doing her all this time, thinking it's the thing to do. Anyway, dang, Dorit was mad. I just think that Dorit's fashions were a point of contention for PK with everything. Kyle says Dorit was angry, different. Yeah, you will be too if you're going through stuff. Dorit confronted Kyle about knowing PK when it's, well, texting PK and everything when it's supposed to only be about memes and jokes. Kyle's not a girl's girl. She can't even take care of herself. She can't put herself first in her marriage when it comes to what she will and will not allow. But see, again, when you allow cheating in your relationship, it messes everything up because now you keep taking people back. And, well, I'll just use them for instance. Kyle keep taking Mauricio back and forth to the point where she lost herself. And talking throughout this whole reunion, she's making excuses for this man. Well, he may feel this way, but I would hope that he does. Girl, we need to talk to Mauricio. But then again, and then she wants to put her grown Portia's 16, but hell, she let her sleep out overnight over here and over there, not with her family. Then she pretty much grown. So, Kyle just putting everything but her feelings to the forefront when it comes to her. She just wants to, cry in peace or deal with it in peace. And she's so used to piecemealing her life for the camera, which is a big old hypocrisy, the way she wants others to divulge everything, child. But listen, Kyle, in my opinion, wants to piecemeal certain things about her life and then hide behind, well, I have daughters, I have a family to protect, and everything can't be made for the public. Well, Heifer, you can't tell us not to talk about it. If you don't want the situation with the lesbian stuff put out for us to talk about, then why are you tattooing this woman's insignia on your body? A tattoo is permanent. And like I said in my previous reviews, Mauricio is doing this. You have a tattoo. It ain't like he got tattoos of women. He's setting up funds, bank accounts with these women. He's buying them houses and taking care of their families. He's out there doing what Kyle allowed him to do for I don't know how long. And that's what I mean. Once you allow it, you are a part of the problem. So as far as I'm concerned, both Kyle and Mauricio are ruining their marriage or have ruined their marriage. Again, if they weren't supposed to cheat, then it should have been nipped in the bud then. Again, for me, you already know how I am. You cheat once, it's over. Ain't no coming back. No second chance, my behind. No, that was your only chance. See, people need to realize that that second chances aren't mandatory. And who I don't want to say that. I don't want to offend nobody. Listen, all I'm saying is it didn't work for Kyle and Mauricio, obviously, because she keeps alluding to things from last season and previous seasons, and you went, girl. Anyway, again, when you allow cheating in your marriage, this is exactly what's gonna happen. Embarrassment, family mad at you, all kind of innuendos and scandal. I mean, upset, heartbreak, crying all the time, embarrassment. I wish I would. I mean, girl, worldwide internet to know. That's a whole nother child. You cannot embarrass me to this hill and think that we still gonna be married. Quick, fast, and a hurry divorce. Quick, fast, and a hurry. Because you got me all the way fucked up, if you know what I'm talking about. What else happened, child? I won't go too long with all this, but sending PK a text before her was pretty much, see, all this texting back and forth with your friend's man, it just ain't cool. And Kyle was like, well, we were all friends. Bitch, she's supposed to be your friend. He's in it by default. And again, her whole situation, her whole mental is screwed up. Again, when Kyle's priorities in life, child, listen, I don't know. I mean, certain people live by certain rules and things, and that's just not what, again, it's obviously it doesn't work. So I wouldn't even promote that. Everybody on that stage besides Kyle was like, that was not the thing to do. You are Dorit's friend. The friends too. Everybody, even Kathy was like, nah, I wouldn't. No, dog. No, dog. Lord. Sutton asked about Dorit, and Dorit went in. I mean, Dorit does not see it for Sutton at all. She, again, we went we went back to what episode 11, episode 10. I mean, child, maybe 9. It was just a mess. Next, we see Bozoma. She thought the cast played up issues, but at the same time, she understood, right? She lost her house, one of her homes, in the devastating fire out in Malibu. How else are you going to feel but devastated behind all of that? It's like a mixed bag about Keeley. He's all in, but then again, it just seems so rushed and so soon. Yeah, of course, I love yous have happened, but it just, with all this baby talk and whatnot, I would have never introduced that until I love you have been said at least 100 times. I'm just saying. I mean, all this surgeries and carrying on. Anyway, egg retrieval is in the process of happening. I just want Bozoma to know it's really not just about her. It's about the baby too. And if there's any possibility that that baby could have any issues because she wanted to carry, she has to think about that child first. If anybody know Bozoma, girl, if you're listening, watching, listening, if anybody know or happen listening, Bozoma, I know you want to do this, but we have to think about our children first before ourselves. You're already a mother. You know how that is, putting your children first. If there's a greater possibility of non-viability, don't do it. If it's don't do it. Please get a surrogate. If your egg and his sperm can make an embryo, please get a surrogate. I know that may sound, but it's better to be safe than sorry, because your medical history is scary enough, and I know all about it. I got some background, but just as you described, both of your pregnancies, you have preeclampsia. One baby didn't make it. May she rest. We need for you to make it, because you have a family to take care of. You have a life to lead. And to avoid all of this, just get a surrogate, mama. If the egg retrieval doesn't mess you up, because we've heard stories just like with DeBrat's wife going through what she went through. It was a real scary process. You never know how things can. You never know how your body will react to certain procedures, and because going through the change of motherhood and going through all those procedures and carrying on, I would want to be between 95 and 100% safe in all of this. And if it's not, I'll just get a surrogate, please. And if you need to, call Shamia and Candy's people. You know what I'm saying? Or even, what's her name? Stormy Steele from Canvas Beauty. She was also on Love and Mayor Huntsville. Call her. She's doing surrogacy out in LA area. So maybe she has a point of contact for you, girl. Just get a surrogate, please. And thank you. Just, heart to heart. Anyway, back to Bozoma. So her friendship with Dorit could be envy. She mentions, pretty much she says, for those who worry about it, with them being so close, or so-called thinking that Dorit manipulates Bozoma, says a lot about how they see themselves, more so than whether or not Dorit is using Bozoma to do her dirty work, And, I can agree, my thing is, why are you worried about it so much? If we get along, we get along. Hello. Next, we are talking about Garcelle. And she's accomplished, yet no storylines really. Erika calls her less interesting. Garcelle's offended by that. Erika has a little bone to pick with Garcelle, like, dang, girl. Garcelle, she was like, she's like, I thought we were good. She's like, we are, but it is, it is what it is. You, nothing happened with you. She said, I opened up my life, yada, yada, yada. But the thing is, because Garcelle ain't got no bullshit going on, they don't see her, having a storyline. But again, she showcased she's a boss, in the TV and movie world. She's a mover and shaker now, not just talent. She's actually, again, a mover and shaker. She's shown that, her son is modeling now. Her eldest son just had another baby. She bought a house on her own, remodeled it on her own without the help of a man's money. Hello. And that's another thing. One can say Garcelle is self-made, while almost everybody else on that stage, besides Bozoma, got it through their man's money. So maybe it's a state of mind with these women. If you don't do it a certain way, you're looked at differently. I mean, really, everybody, Garcelle and Bozoma are the only two cast members who made their money on their own laurels and not laying on their backs. No shade, but you know what I'm saying? Child. Maybe that offends people. She had to, she couldn't lay on her back and get her. Well, hey. Now, if Garcelle would have said that, child, it would have ruffled some feathers, but it would have been true. She should have. Ooh, Garcelle. Ooh, you should have had me in your ear on the microphone, girl. No, that would have set off a little firestorm. But it is, well, not Kyle so much. Her money came through her parents. Same doggone difference. It ain't like they, had to work really hard to get the money, other than anyway, what else? What else is going on? Okay, so they talk about Morgan, and Kyle brings up, well, the fact that I told you off camera was a sign that, I was letting you in, and but see, Kyle kind of do a lot of him and hawing when she don't want to say the wrong thing. And if Kyle would just say what she needs to say, instead of trying to hide what she don't want people to know, and that's part of Kyle's problem. She's so used to hiding stuff that it's hard for her to be truthful when she's on a reality show. I wish somebody would have called her out with that. I mean, Bozoma kind of did, but at the same time, sometimes, or maybe they did and they didn't show. You know how production be, child, be trying to save people's, reputation and careers and whatnot. Listen, production's gonna have to get off of this trying to save people's reputations and just put the stuff up. Stop saving it for the cutting room floor or for their own amusement at the house when they want to watch something or share with certain key people that won't tell. I mean, I'm just saying, that's what I think. I really wish production would just let the ish roll and just put it out there as is. Child, because I know it had to be said. It had to, and if it wasn't, it should have been. But yeah, back to Morgan. When Kyle brought up the fact, that if you want to be a lesbian, just be a lesbian. Kyle took it as though Garcelle was trying to out her. Girl, you didn't put the tattoo on the woman. You done made a video of y'all being all intimate. You seen at her functions, googly eyed and whatnot. Every time you're around her, you had to perform at your best friend's. One of her best friends passed away through she unalived herself, and so there was a commemorate. I don't know what it was called, child, but I hate to say anniversary of, but it was like, the girls, her best friend's family was there, and everything. So it was, oh, that's right. It was through a foundation that some mental health foundation that helped people with those suicidal ideations and whatnot. And she had Morgan perform. Again, you keep putting this woman on the show. So all of a sudden, last season, it was cool to talk about her. But because she don't want to be a cast member this season, it's not cool to talk about her. I can understand, Kyle a little bit with that, but she should have just said, "Listen, we can." She should have said, "We can absolutely not discuss her name and or anything or allude to her. Just talk about me." But it's kind of hard to do that, But anyway, Kyle, you're just gonna have to eat it and stop trying to play tit for tat, talking about, well, you don't want us to talk about Oliver, so I didn't. So that's the same thing with, I told you verbatim, I did not want to talk about Morgan, and you brought her up anyway. That part, Garcelle, was messed up. I can honestly admit that was not cool to do, girl. Girl. Then Sutton called Kyle, talking off camera, is a chess move, outed by Garcelle. And Kyle was like, it was not a chess move. It was like, Kyle, him and Han, everything about, I'm just sick of Kyle for either tell the truth, not your truth, because your truth is a lie. And like Bozeman said, when you omit, you lie. When you willfully omit, you lie, man. And some people can accidentally, like, oh yeah, I forgot to say, yeah. Listen, when you willfully omit, it is a lie. There it is right there. All right, so then Kyle said, well, how about Garcelle and Sutton plotted, and pretty much wanting them to, kind of provoke me into discussing something that I didn't want to discuss. And in a way, yeah, because I remember Jennifer was in on it. They were plotting to, to have Kyle talk about this, that, and the third. But I just think Kyle looks at things as I'm the victim no matter what, when she's not the victim. It seems like if there's a technicality of Kyle being hurt in a situation, she plays the victim, making a mountain out of a molehill. I do. Now, what's on my thing about Dorit? Oh yeah, Dorit confronts Garcelle talking about the break-in was a setup. Dorit let Garcelle have it, like, how dare you? And then even Bo's like, yeah, that's very, 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 very bad. For me, that's like nasty work. Bozoma was like, that is Now somebody I heard said Bozoma said it, I would sue if that was me. I didn't hear her say it on the reunion. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, Bozoma chimed in and Garcelle was like, well, okay, then I was wrong. Garcelle, you don't believe that. You're just saying it just to appease Dorit. And that's why Dorit kept going. I don't blame Dorit for going at you, especially when in fact it did not go the way Garcelle said. Child, listen, she would have got a lot. It would have been some cussing going on. I don't give a doggone how she felt, microaggression my behind. It would have been some cussing going on if you saying that my husband has something to do. But see, it's all about the inference Garcelle made, alluding to as Garcelle, and in the way Garcelle said it, without being concrete about who didn't do it. It was so ambiguous to the point where I don't blame Dorit the way she came at Garcelle. I think she should have came harder. As a matter of fact, she has to protect her family, and for Garcelle to insinuate that a crime happened on top of a crime, Or perhaps it wasn't a crime. Child, listen. Child. Anywho. That was the end of part 1. Did y'all watch? So now we are on part 2. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 14 reunion. So pretty much after Dorit was reading Garcelle and Sutton for their nasty work, going back and forth about how insinuating and talking about the robbery was calculated and possibly, a setup or whatnot. So there's a break, and they're in their respective cocoons. And Garcelle and Sutton feel like, they're talking amongst themselves. They feel like they were, like they were ganged up on. Same thing Kyle said, yeah, I ganged up on me. So, I mean, they feel like, they're mean girls, and that, again, it's like mean girls. I mean, sometimes you just have to be held accountable for what you say and do, because you think it doesn't make it so. And when you insinuate something that major, you may not think it's major, but it actually is. I'm pretty sure Phaedra didn't think it was so major with her repeating what she said about Candy and Todd. Just saying. That was what, 7 years ago? Just saying. She was like, it's just something that was told to me. Well, you a lawyer. Well, this ain't that. But listen, it is what it is. Kyle says, the same thing about them being mean girls. Like I said, girl, shut up, Kyle. Just tell the truth and stop telling your truth, because your truth is a lie. Same thing that's going on in your household. You are lying to yourself. Therefore, that's a sham. You are putting on to protect somebody who doesn't care the same way about you. But then again, you still got the tattoo mark on your body. So unless I hear about a tattoo removal, Mauricio can do whatever he want to do. It don't look good, of course, but ain't nobody brought up the fact that she got this tattoo. And perhaps a tattoo is a permanent thing, and he out there just, having fun, doing him, being separated. There's no rules to a marriage. I mean, technically, anyway, again, when you allow cheating in your marriage, it all goes to shit. Anyway, Garcelle feels like Kyle talked off camera to shut her up about Morgan. And, well, they're back already. They're back from their break. And Kyle said it was, to show trust. Like, I give you something, trust me. And see, the thing is, Kyle, again, like I said before, you're going to have to be upfront about what you want people to do with the information that you're giving them. Because apparently Garcelle didn't read the room well. It's like that whole, I hate to say it, but well, I'm gonna say it anyway. The old mafia, I do a job for you, now, folks owe people and that old backhanded passive aggressive way a passive aggressive way of, well, I do you one, now you do me one solid, like, just say what you need to say. No offense to the mob or the mafia folks, just using that as an example. Excuse me. Again, Kyle, it is hard, obviously, for you to speak your mind. We don't see you speak your mind with your husband when he do you dirty, the way, because you feel like he do you dirty. We're to a point where he has to apologize when he really don't even want to apologize. It's just, but again, when you allow cheating in your relationship, it all goes to shit. Trying to tell y'all, no, whoever I'm talking to, when you allow things to go on in your relationship that you said no to and you can't believe it's happening, and then you accept that person back. If it was so egregious, then what makes you think? Anyway, moving on, because I'm keep beating that horse until it's powder. Kyle doesn't want to compromise her family's feelings so she doesn't talk about certain things. Girl, bye. Erika agrees. Girl, bye. You still sucking up so that they don't treat you like they did Lisa Rinna. Must we relive that? I don't think we need to. I think I didn't. That's about to be powder dust too, from the horse. Anyway, Bozoma says, say that instead of what's been happening. Like I said, but Bozoma was like, say what you need to say instead of hiding behind things because omission is a lie. Oh Lord, then I think Kyle got a little paranoia because it's like her paranoia gets in the way of reality. Some about that family and this and their mental state is very questionable in my opinion. I didn't been through it. I don't want to keep beating that either into powder, but I don't want to keep beating that horse into powder. But it's always something. And it's so egregious to the point where it gets in the way of progression. Anything that gets in the way of progression should be eradicated or changed to the point where it will not stop you from progressing or get in the way. I'm a firm believer of that. Whatever it is, whatever behavior it is, it needs to change or stop. And I see that with Kyle. She needs to put her foot down and stop trying to make people think like her, because apparently how she thinks is a problem. Just like just like texting PK when she ain't supposed to. Talking about, well, we're all friends. But then admits if any of them, mainly Dorit, was texting Mauricio without letting her know, she'd be upset too. I'm so sick of Kyle. I really am. Anyway, what else is going on? Then Andy points out Morgan became more famous and she controlled the narrative. She didn't have to shoot the video. She didn't have to be on the TV show. She didn't have to, have these outings being seen with you, but she did. Ooh, Andy was being messy. But then again, how old is Morgan? Is she in her 20s? I guess they both like him young. Them both meaning Kyle and Mauricio. Some must they have in common. Next, we got Textgate. Kyle tries to change the narrative that texts were nothing to be concerned about, regardless if they were or were not memes and jokes. But you said it was just memes and jokes. Crying and carrying on. Crying for what? For sympathy? Kyle brings up the text Dorit shared with Erika as justification or validation, like, how dare you when you did it first? Two wrongs don't make a right. But see, when Kyle, again, when you keep allowing certain things in your personal life to go on, and you keep taking folks in and back and forth, it manifests into other aspects of your life. Now she using that same philosophy with Dorit, with these texts that Dorit shared with Erika in the previous reunion. Well, why didn't you say that during the season? So what, you have to think about something? See, the fact that you have to conjure it up to prove a point only makes your point as invalid as it is now. You shouldn't have did it. How about that? I have yet to hear Kyle say, I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. It's not a girl's girl. You're my friend. He's not. He is your husband, whoever he is, whatever his name is going to be. And as a matter of fact, I should have deleted his number out of my phone. I mean, anybody can call, can get through. So she'll need him programming her phone. She'll even, maybe not block just for emergency purposes, but delete. And I would have sent Dorit the whole text chain Girl, listen, I'm going to send you this whole text chain. We can go over whatever you want to go over. That's in solidarity for your friend that you're trying to get back in cahoots with. But she wouldn't know nothing about that. Then to add, it was so bad I started choking before I can even say this mess. Hold on real quick. I need to wet my whistle, child, because woo, what I'm about to say. If you ain't known by now, woo, what I'm about to say, child. Hold on. Woo. Now this, I hope y'all sitting down for this right here. So listen, after all of what we can't even say, after all that has transpired in the season before the reunion, and what they're talking about now, Kyle reveals that she texted PK again after their trip to Oceanside. After they reconciled, Dorit was like, oh, like she clutched her pearls without clutching her pearl. Dorit was as shocked probably as you are hearing me say it. Everybody was like, what, bitch? I would have been like, no, this bitch didn't. I know it's what Erika said in her mouth, in her brain, but she would never say it out loud because she cannot go against anybody related to Kathy. You know, the Lisa Rinna thing. Anyway. Yeah. Y'all heard me right. Kyle says it was to warn PK after everything that has transpired. Warn PK. Warn, WARN. Not warm. Might as well. Warn PK. Child. At that point, Dorit, Kyle is not your friend. She is your co-worker, associate, somebody you know. Hell no. Child, moving on. Crystal Falls, child. Kyle brought a crystal as a sign of, I forgot exactly, but it's supposed to promote the best aura, and it's supposed to be reverenced in a way, you know, and it's healing power. I won't say powers like it's magic or anything, or I don't want to minimize it, but it's supposed, like I said, it's supposed to do all those things. Why did crystal fall after that? Everybody's like, ooh. Child, the crystal fell on the floor. Now, I don't know if it was in her hand and she dropped it, or if it was like on the somewhere. Anyway, it fell by her feet as if, you know. Child, if that ain't symbolic, I mean, I'm just saying, the crystal fell. Jennifer appears, she comes out, and she's just so silly. Jennifer tried to be neutral, but of course, Sutton is her, you know, ace boom. And, you know, she apologized for the insult towards PK, and she really didn't want to make Dorit feel bad. And then Dorit said, well, I kind of just figured you are part of the new Witches of Eastwick, a Beverly Hills situation. And, you know, her and Garcelle and Sutton. Jeff was like, oh, well. And they were like, Garcelle. Child. And then Kathy came. I mean, it was more about, you know, the same thing about Jennifer's wealth and her money and her fashions. And, you know, of course, we don't want to leave all of that out. But we've seen already, it was really nothing new other than Jennifer explaining that she is Sutton's friend and she's always going to try and, you know, resolve and not make things worse, and just, you know, be a sounding board, as well as the, you know, helpful peacemaker, because that's her personality. As we know, Jennifer's just a fun time, and she ain't there to hurt nobody. She'll crack a joke. She's eloquent, intelligent, well-rounded individual, you know, and she sees it for what it is. Now, she did say sometimes, Sutton may come off like you say, but I really don't think it's her intention. But she, Jennifer says she can understand and see how, folks feel the way they feel about how Sutton, reacts to certain things, but she just knows Sutton not to be so much of a malicious person. But child, that that's because you have the wealth you do. Let's just put it on out there. Sutton is about her money. Sutton is not going to be friends with somebody. Well, she was friends with, no shade. I was going to say, well, she was friends with Garcelle, who may have 5 million to her name. I'm just saying, versus 50. To be honest, Sutton's friendship with Garcelle, I don't think it was 100% genuine. I think Sutton got to know Garcelle and was pleased with Garcelle, to know that Garcelle wasn't who she thought she was. And I do think Sutton has racist bones in her body. She gets it from her mama. That's how I feel, y'all. And I think she just really wanted to prove Garcelle to not be somebody who she couldn't be friends with. And it turned out that they were a cute little couple, cute little friendly couple who has a cute friendship. And it blossomed. It seemed genuine, but like I said, that's how I feel about it. It is what it is. But yeah, so that was that. Then Kathy and her purse came out. Talking about, psychic told her she's Chinese from 3000 BC. Girl, they're like, who said this again? It turned out it was a psychic woman down, where was she? Some country. She was, in her travels, and the woman sat her down and told her that she's part Chinese of the folks from 3000 BC. Well, what about the people after 3000 BC? Why are we talking? I mean, I guess that's the origin or wherever her lineage started. But then throughout the season, Kyle was promoting being half Chinese. But then during this reunion part, Kyle is questioning whether or not she's Chinese. See, Kyle, again, lying, just saying stuff just to be saying it and going along to get along, to not have to talk about your mess. I'm just saying. I remember specifically Kyle was adamantly saying, no, we are Chinese. As if you're 98%. What are you, 8%? Child, please, don't even look it. At least Jennifer looks it. You can tell she has strong Caucasian side, but yeah, I mean, their dad, her and Meg's dad is, or was, may he rest if he's, I'm sorry, is he passed on? I'm sorry. If he's not, I'm sorry, but if he is, may he rest. Full-fledged Chinese man, and they look it. So, girl, don't even, just because, you shut up. Woo! I don't want to say nothing that's irresponsible. All I know is somebody 3000 BC is Chinese. The psychic said is related to Kathy and them. So that's what that is. Then they talk about Kim relapsing and they said she's doing better. Okay. Then of course they talk about Kathy being called roadkill because she almost messed up the fashion show of Sutton. Sutton wasn't too disturbed, other than Kathy was trying to get Dorit to call the runway, but that wasn't that type of runway. It was more or less people just go for what they know, like we saw. And yeah, that was that. Next we have Sutton wanting the group to remain close. Yeah, well, she kind of disbanded that. Bozoma called her out for intentioning to hurt with words, pretty much weaponizing, and can't take full accountability. It's always a but or somebody else did it too. And like, y'all too old for this. Y'all too old. Dorit checked Sutton on being rude and interruptive, especially when it came to her. Dorit talking about her son finding the news article online about his parents divorcing, and it was just, real yeah. It wasn't received well. Dorit looked at her like, I'm trying to talk about my kid, and you want to rush us to get somewhere? And then Dorit said if she would have just interrupted with a better in a better way instead of how she did it, on top of them already going through issues. So, I think all of that played a part in everything, because if Dorit can come back and say, if you would have said it differently, that adds a big old spin on it to let me know that the issues that they're having played a part in how she was so offended that Sutton would interrupt her talking about her kid. And Dorit is just going back and forth, and Dorit, checks Sutton about the wallet comment and just keep going on and on and on about you live on a main road, you ain't all that, and your money is not all that, and you buy people, like there was an incident or insinuation by Dorit that in order to be people's friend, she has to spend money to do so. Instead of just leading with herself, she leads with money because herself is not good enough. Ooh, child. So to me, Dorit wanted to bring out the ugly in Sutton, and it really didn't work. Sutton saw it, but it really didn't work, child. And child, baby, that was the end of part 2, babe. That's the end of part 2. Baby, look, Dorit is still going out at Sutton, just really trying to get her goat. Sutton's not really buying it. Sutton is not getting upset. She sees Dorit's works. Again, Dorit was just, oh, there she is. Oh, is she coming out? Is the real Sutton coming out? Dorit, that was, a little, slimy of you, but at the same time, you mad. And you can't be wrong to somebody and expect them to react back a certain way. I mean, you anger somebody to the hilt and they've had enough. It is what it is. Jennifer says otherwise. Both Garcelle and Jennifer doesn't think Sutton leads with money, but it is what it is. Bozoma had to go in at Sutton, letting Sutton know that, well, I had an issue with the fact that you pretty much insinuated in the after show that I was an angry Black woman, and that was not the case. And then Bozoma said, and Garcelle, I'm surprised you didn't catch it. Garcelle was like, really? When? What happened? Well, who said that? Oh, and Sutton was like, well, no, I didn't say that. But then Jennifer corroborated Bozoma. She said, yeah, that's what you said, bitch. And and then Sutton said, well, it was just that, when you were yelling again, Bose was like, I check yourself. No, because no one here can say that I yell, because I don't. And no one can sit here and say I was angry, because I haven't been. See, that's what I'm talking about. Those, I guess you call them microaggressions, but it's just outright lies, just to, because people in Sutton's mindset with their racist tendencies just have a preconceived notion about somebody. Sutton and Garcelle, we see it from the jump, how they played their position to not be deemed as what racists expect them to be. You get me? It is what it is, because if you think like that, you're a racist. I don't care. It is what it is. And in this climate, it's best to call it out, because if they can just blatantly be that way, then it needs to be blatantly called out for what it is. And I'm glad Bozoma said that, because even there on the stage, either it was during the season. Now, remember when Bozoma pulled Sutton to the side? No, Sutton pulled Bozoma to the side when Bozoma called Sutton out for weaponizing Dorit's issues and using it against her. Even then, Sutton said, well, I am well spoken too. First of all, ain't nobody talking about being accomplished and well spoken. So already, that's the first thing I noticed. They didn't bring it up, or at least they didn't show it. That was the first microaggression, racist tendency that I saw Sutton have with Bozoma. The next was when Bozoma had her male hands on. Everybody else was comfortable enough to get worked on, kneaded on, and poked and prodded and touched on by these strong Black men's hands, but Sutton. Go back and watch the episode. Sutton was up trying to talk to people, do this, do that. She was, uncomfortable. You can see it in her face when they were introduced to the men. She was the only one not smiling. She was looking like, how can I get out of this? Or I can't believe this is happening. You can just see the wheels turning in her brain. You can see the expression in her face. Third, where is the after show when she's speaking of what Bozoma calls out now, that Sutton called her. Well, I don't know why she was so angry with me when at Dorit's party in the vestibule where they're trying to get Sutton to stay, but Sutton wanted to leave. What's her name? Bozoma was the most diplomatic person there. She was, speaking on Dorit's behalf, but at the same time, let her leave. Why are you preventing her from staying, interrupting the party? It's rude. That's what she said. And that is what Sutton is trying to explain on this couch. Reunion part 3, that Bozoma was angry and yelling. No one corroborated that. So Bozoma checked her. Again, Garcelle, why didn't you check it? Why didn't you check it? You checked it when you called out Kyle for insinuating that you don't pay your bills with that $5,000 for the charity. You checked it when what's her name? Dorit insinuated that you yelled at her when you didn't. Obviously, that's another racist microaggression that Dorit had to check herself on. It's obvious. And I'm glad that it was. I wish I would have delved into that a little more, or at least Garcelle would have, got out of her feelings and saw the writing on the wall. But yeah, like I said, Reba. I'm gonna call her Reba Jr. Shit. Anyway, what else happened? Oh yeah, so Bozoma was checking Sutton, and then the alcohol situation came up between Dorit and Sutton. And pretty much Sutton is, pretty much it's getting old. And Sutton was like, the only time it's brought up is when you bring it up. No one else brings it up but you. And when two people are not in the best way with each other, no insinuation of anything vile should be brought up. Or, don't talk about me, because it can be misconstrued. You may catch, a slap in the face. Anything could happen. I could insult you about not having as much money as me, and as it did. So that's why you shouldn't joke with people, thinking it's okay to joke with somebody when you're not getting along with them, because they don't see it for you. And they will take offense to everything you say. If you say anything that doesn't even remotely sound offensive, they're going to take it as offensive because they don't see it for you. Child. What else happened? Let's talk about Sutton's way of kicking people when they're down. You know, the whole point of Erika bringing it up was so that Sutton can be aware and stop doing it. Erika likes Sutton. She likes hanging around her, but when the chips are down, watch out. Sutton gonna come through her. Not just Katrina, Sutton. You know, just like, girl, why? Perhaps Sutton just needs to if it don't concern you, don't be involved. Don't even offer an opinion. Just be there as a sounding board. Hello, and learn from other people how to deal with the situation, because you're not the end all be all. But when people have a lot of money, they think they can push their way around and throw their weight around, i.e., their wallet around, because money equals power. And again, white supremacists love power. I'm trying to tell you, I know what I'm talking about. I see it. I see it in her. No matter how I see it, I see the fakeness in Sutton or Reba Jr. I see it. And it is what it is. So then Garcelle pretty much is, sick and tired of everybody. She feels like she doesn't get any grace, and no one smiled at her today. Only when they first came onto the set. After that, it has been nothing pleasant, and she doesn't get a smile, not any type of encouraging anything. It's just like she feels how she feels. And she said she didn't want to answer no more questions because she's sick of it. Then I talk about Tom's conviction. Erika is okay, mostly with her life. They talk about the divorce thing. She's like, that was the least of her worries, trying to get through everything else. So now she doesn't want to see him, and not to be morbid, but only time she wants to see him is on his deathbed. Well, literally, at the funeral. She doesn't want to be involved with him. She knows that he got time, and at first she's like, how do you divorce someone who's in dementia? But like she said, the divorce was the least of her worries as far as trying to get through all of the other legalities with her name attached to it. Then a better talking point. She got to finish out the play Chicago as Roxy Hart. She had to stop production last time with all her trouble she's going through. And also she's working in Europe, doing shows out there. And, she's just, just trying to make it day by day. Then she speaks about her son relationship and going through everything. Her and her son got closer. And then they mentioned how he had to testify in the A$AP Rocky trial. That's the one thing I didn't see on the A$AP Rocky trial. I might have to go back and watch. Anyway, she said, well, no, Andy said for him to be so private and not want to, be filmed or whatever, and then to see him on, having to, get in front of the camera had to be something. And she's like, yeah, but it was on his terms. It wasn't because of the show. So that's why we never saw him again or heard from him in that way, because he didn't want to be a part of the show. He's a cop. So, it is what it is. Oh, Lord. What else happened, child? Oh, and then they talk about, the, I don't want to talk about them being horny, girl, bye. Anyway, Sutton's trip to Georgia was a healing and special moment. She hasn't talked to her mom about the scenes or any things that have been shown on the show. It sounds like her mom knows about it. They just haven't talked about it, but they have that weird relationship. Then they all joke about Garcelle taking on that role, speaking with Reba, and how Reba kind of told her off. Now, one thing I'm upset with production is that they only showed the conversation where Reba told Garcelle to stay out of family business, but they didn't show the rest to where Reba thanked her and understood why Garcelle asked or, pretty much got involved in her family business. Now that would have been, if they would have showed that full not the full conversation, but at least the full sentence, because they cut it off as Reba is leaning in and tell her to stay out of her family business. And that's what I can see why Garcelle will be upset, that alone, because it doesn't give you the true story of the conversation. But I'm glad that Garcelle came around and explained it. I mean, the fact that she had to, I would just be mad about that just on GP. Like, wait a minute, how you just gonna play that part, but not play the part where the rest of that, at least not even scene, but sentence where she came around? It's like production's always just trying to make jabs at people, not just Garcelle, but just make jabs without giving full context to that particular scene. It was appreciated by Reba that Garcelle came through. First you got to give them, you like it is what it is. Sometimes you have to give it to them, but then let them know I appreciate you anyway. So that lifts the negativity a bit, but she's still racist as far as I'm concerned. It is what it is. And then Erika said, well, yeah, that reminds me of my grandmother's child. That's still Magnolia. Yeah. Next, we talk about Teddy. It's very, again, Teddy is not doing well. Teddy Mellencamp. She, I think it's brain cancer, some type of malignancy in her body. And what was said was she has a long road ahead, and that was pretty much it. And the way Kyle looked is that she wanted to bawl out, cry. But then again, what doesn't make Kyle cry these days? But that's definitely something that will make me cry if my homegirl, my ace boom, was going through something like that, staying at my house, because I've been around it. So seeing all of that, baby. Then we go to Kyle's marriage, child. Then the crystal fell again. Mind you, the crystal fell in part 2 also. This is the third time that crystal done fell. And they're like, y'all, listen, every time we talk about that's real controversial to Kyle. Now, either she's dropping it or she's knocking it over. But nevertheless, it ain't supposed to be on the floor like that. Child. Her marriage is over. Kyle keep letting shit slide. Kyle don't want to let go. Kathy would like for them to reunite. Girl, why? Just because they have children. Them children is grown in their own relationships, fucking having babies. They already chew their daddy out. It is what it. They've been embarrassed the same way Kyle has. It is what it is. Again, Kathy, please. Lithium for Kathy, please. Anyway, Kathy wants them to stay the same. So Kathy wants Mauricio. So pretty much Kathy just wants them to stay the same and not separate and not divorce. That means Mauricio keep cheating and Cal keep getting tattoos of women, and she's not a lesbian. But then again, she's having these thoughts and tendencies. What? Kyle keep making excuses, just Kyle acting willfully obtuse about Mauricio cheating. And they allude to last reunion, season 13, where she, brought up the fact that, there was trust issues. And again, him and Han about what's really going on. Girl, bye. Then she says, well, during the separation, she used her PI services and knows everything. And that's pretty much utilizing his device or devices. She didn't want to give up the ghost, even though Andy asked. He should know better because a woman scorned. And we all know Kathy got PI services because she offered when that picture of him in Greece came out. What was it, episode 12? I'm just saying. I mean, it is what it is. Kat's like, we need to check her out. I know that's right. If nothing else, shoot. So now we're talking about Kyle's sexuality. Child, I don't care. Because Kyle is confused. So I got really nothing to say about it other than don't bring it up if you don't know, if you don't want nobody to talk about it. That's all I got to say about that. Kathy was actually Kathy explained it better than Kyle did, and that's Kyle's life. And Kathy kept laughing, making it hard for Kyle to express herself, but Kyle used it as an excuse. When Kyle want to say something, she'll say something. She's just trying to pick and choose what to say. Well, I have daughters, and girl, bye with all that. Again, excuses, excuses, excuses. I gotta think about the other person too. Well, again, if you don't want to talk about it, just say I can't. I refuse to talk about it. That's all you gotta say. Like Bozoma said, fade that and said all this him and han that you do. Again, whatever it is with Kyle is whatever. Just stop him and han about it. We like Garcelle said, if you want to be a lesbian, be a lesbian. Do your thing. I wonder if that tattoo still on her arm. Or where was the tattoo on her stomach, child? I don't know, child. Then I don't even want to go into her kids because she always using her kids as a scapegoat. Next, we see Kathy not surprised about oh, I'm sorry, before I go there. Andy asked at the final part of the reunion, Andy asked, what have you been most surprised about this season, if any? Kathy and Erika both say no surprises. It was what it was. Bozoma said she was surprised at it all. She figured everybody here has valid feelings and she can understand she can understand the drama of it all because everyone is so passionate about how they feel towards each other. She sees the love, she sees the endearment, and it is what it is. Oh, that was sweet. What else happened, child? Dorit surprised in finding a friend for life in Bozoma. Garcelle surprised at Sutton and Reba's relationship and how better it's getting. Because, child, she must have known some. Sutton must have been telling her some stuff. Anyway, Sutton is surprised her and Erika got along and wants it to last forever. Erika does too. And last and now, I'm mad that we didn't get Jennifer's surprise, but at the end, Jennifer made up for it. Anyway, Kyle's surprised at herself with her behavior and just would like to have a better go at it. Girl, again, be truthful, tell the truth and not your truth. So after that, all of their surprise moments of the season, Jennifer was called upon by Andy not to give what she was surprised about, but to give the toast. And it was really well. She spoke about ships that sail in the night and ships that are made out of Louis Vuitton luggage, but most of all, the friendships are the best of all. Something to that effect. And everybody's like, oh, okay, cool. See, that's the type of Jennifer I like. FYI, I played with her in poker down to Las Vegas a couple of times, a hoot in person, the same way she is on TV. That's why I'm like, oh, Jennifer Tenney's going to be on there. Oh, I wonder if she remembers me. Because poker is one of my favorite pastimes, and I'm only 2.5 hours from Vegas. Anyway, like I said, that was the reunion, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't watch it, I hope you enjoyed the review that I gave. And if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. Go back. But before we do, child, Garcelle left at the photo opportunity, even though in the beginning, at the beginning of part 1, Garcelle was like, I hope we do a photo shoot with child right before the end. Right before the end. They all toasted. Even Garcelle toasted with that watermelon drink that started that whole rift between Dorit and Sutton at Dorit's barbecue, so-called barbecue. So Garcelle drank it and left at the photo op. She says they're all effing assholes, all, including Sutton and Jennifer. Hello. She doesn't trust them and they don't like her. I mean, they were all trying to get her to come back. Well, not everybody said something, but it was, it was a sight. She walked off and said, "No, I don't," and she said, "I'm done," and took off her dress, left, and then Sutton came looking for her. She was already gone. Child. Now that's the end of the reunion. Child, that was something. Well, I'll say. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you don't know, now you know. All right, then. Bye, y'all. All day.